You think being brutal with yourself proves you're a man with standards. You think the voice that tears you down is the same voice that will build you up. You call it integrity because it hurts. You call it discipline because it feels like punishment. But listen closely. That voice isn't leading you forward. It's chaining you to a bench where nothing gets built. You're not being hard to get better. You're being hard to avoid being tested. You wear your self-judgment like a badge. I don't let myself off the hook. It sounds noble. You think it puts you above the soft men. You think it shows you want more. But it's not proof of standards. It's proof you'd rather feel pain you control than face a test you don't. Integrity isn't whipping yourself in private. Integrity is doing what the mission demands in public, where the scoreboard keeps you honest. The whip doesn't build. The work does. Pain fools you. Pain feels like effort. So you confuse suffering with progress. Restraint looks like strength, so you confuse holding back with being in control. You talk to yourself like a prison guard and call it leadership. You stop yourself from making moves and label it discipline. Like you think, if I'm hard enough on me, I'll become strong. No, you're just practicing misery. And misery is cheap. It's easier to bruise your own ribs than to take a punch from the real world. It gives you the feeling of paying your dues without leaving the house. That's why you cling to it. It costs you little today and everything tomorrow. Comfort is expensive, and this is comfort dressed like courage. Underneath all of it is a coward's bargain. If I punish me first, the world can't embarrass me. If I make the sentence brutal enough, maybe the test never comes. If I call myself a failure, I won't have to fail in front of anyone. That's the deal your fear keeps offering. Hurt yourself now so you don't have to risk it out there. It's a crooked contract. It buys you certainty at the price of movement. It buys you safety at the price of a life. You don't have to face the ring because you built a dungeon in your head. You don't have to risk feedback because you keep giving yourself a verdict, and you don't even see the trick because you collapse behavior into identity. You miss a rep and pronounce yourself a coward. You eat off plan and become a fraud. You hesitate once and decide you're weak. You turn every attempt into a hearing about your worth. How could you move freely when every step could condemn you? Of course you stall. Of course your body locks up. You made action dangerous. You made your identity the hostage of every result. Run that long enough and you stop moving toward anything that matters. You start optimizing for safety from judgment, not for effectiveness. You stop asking what works and start asking what will protect me from feeling like a loser. The answer is always the same. Stay small, hide, think more, delay, think more. You become a courtroom clerk of your own life. You shuffle paper, you file evidence, you draft arguments about you. You hoard stories that prove your case against yourself. You reread transcripts of old mistakes. You rehearse speeches you'll never give in arenas you'll never enter. You avoid the gym, but you write a brutal review of your body. You avoid the call, but you write a closing statement against your courage. You call it accountability. It's paperwork. It never lifts weight. It never hits publish. It never makes a sale. It never asks her out. It just stacks binders labeled "Who I Am" and locks the door. Fear becomes intelligent when it learns to speak your language. It learns the phrases you respect: discipline, duty, excellence, and it hides inside them. It whispers, "Be more thorough, build a stronger case, prove yourself before you move." It feels morally right to stay in the office. It feels responsible to gather more proof. The arenas stay empty while you sort your files. And as the years pass, the laws you wrote for yourself grow harsher. The field of play gets smaller. You used to think a bad week was recoverable. Now one bad day means you're not cut out for this. You used to shoot for 10 reps and settle at 8. Now, if you miss the first one, you don't even start. The rules keep changing. Always tighter, always heavier, always rigged to prove you guilty. The bets get smaller because you can't stomach a verdict on anything that counts. You convince yourself you're strategic. You call it waiting for the right moment. What you're really doing is shrinking the game until no play matters. Potential doesn't explode, it rots. You keep appealing the same case to the same judge and wonder why you're still in the lobby. Your dreams go gray in folders marked "someday," and you defend that graveyard as if it's a temple of standards. Then reality walks in without knocking. It doesn't ask how you feel about yourself. It doesn't care what you meant. It asks one question, and it asks it cold. Did it work? The bank account answers. The mirror answers. The records, the reps, the ring, they answer. Your inner debates didn't move a meter. Your self-hate didn't pay a bill. Your harshness didn't grow a business or a back. You put yourself on trial every night, and the world never once showed up to watch. It was out there keeping score. And that score is blunt. It tightens your jaw because it's the only verdict that matters. You don't become confident by thinking, you become confident by surviving reality. Confidence is built on scars, not speeches. It comes from doing work that can be judged by something harder than your feelings. So flip the perspective before life pins you again. Your job is not to judge the man. Your job is to serve the mission. The man is a tool. The mission is the reason the tool exists. When you aim at the mission, your feelings stop being the referee. Reality takes the whistle. You stop asking if you're enough and start asking what the mission needs. It needs a body that can do the reps. It needs a calendar that tells the truth. It needs output on the table where others can weigh it. It needs risk. It needs you to face tests where the score isn't subjective. That's how men get forged. You hand your work to the world and say, call it. If it fails, you adjust. If it works, you repeat. That's the only judgment you need. Did it work? That requires betrayal. You have to betray the inner judge, that identity you've been feeding. The righteous prosecutor, the man who never lets himself off the hook, you have to leave him at the door. He makes you feel strong while he steals your courage. Replace self-ratings with promises bound to the mission. Not I am disciplined, but I will deliver X by Y. Not I'm a fraud, but I will do the work at 6 a.m. no matter how I feel. Speak in commitments you can check from the outside. Put them in the open where the scoreboard lives. Time, reps, revenue, pages written, calls made. Let data, not feelings, correct you fast. When the promise is clear and public, the judge has less room to spin stories. He has to watch you put up numbers. This is not about pretending feelings don't exist. It's about refusing to make them your God. You can have fear, but you don't have to worship it. You can have doubt, but you don't have to stop. The mission is simple. Identify what matters and make promises that move it. Then keep those promises like your name depends on them. Because it does. A man's identity is the residue of his kept promises. Not the arguments he made about himself, not the punishments he survived in private, the promises he kept when it was cold, when it was boring, when no one clapped. You want to test your character? Don't ask yourself who you are. Ask yourself what you're willing to keep showing up for. You want to feel strong? Stop squeezing your own throat and pick up the weight. You want to be respected? Stop reading your own file and put your work on the table where men can measure it. When you tie your name to promises and keep them, you stop being a critic. You become a producer. You become a man whose life has outputs, and outputs are honest. They force improvement. They punish fantasy. They give you momentum. Momentum is confidence without speeches. This shift will make you uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort is the price of entry for a life that counts. All the comfort you bought by staying in the courtroom, it sent the bill to your future, and that bill is due. Comfort is expensive. It drains your edge. It makes you forget how to fight. It teaches you to respect your feelings more than your duty. The mission doesn't care that you're tired. The mission doesn't care that you're scared. The mission cares if the work got done. Fear becomes intelligent when it learns to speak your language. It will wear the mask of wisdom. It will quote the rules you wrote to keep yourself in check. It will say, you're not ready. You should be better before you try. You need to fix yourself first. That sounds smart because it leverages your standards. It's a trap. You don't fix yourself by waiting. You fix yourself by moving under load. You won't think your way into the man you want to be. You will act your way there. The life you want is hidden behind the actions you avoid. You know exactly which ones they are. The phone call you keep postponing, the first rep you keep planning for, the camera you won't turn on, the sales page you keep editing instead of posting, the conversation you owe, the apology, the ask, the arena is waiting, the bench feels safe because no one's watching, but no one respects the man who never leaves the bench, not even you. Maybe you're scared of exposure. Good. Be scared and get exposed. Exposure is how you stop being a theory. You can keep reading your self-indictments, or you can let the world grade your work. One makes you feel punished, the other makes you better. Every day you avoid exposure, you teach your nervous system that safety matters more than the mission. Every day you face it, you teach your nervous system that you can handle reality. That's how you build a back. That's how you build a bank. That's how you build a name. You're not obligated to like this. You're obligated to live it if you want what you say you want. Men talk about discipline, masculinity, confidence, success, toughness, responsibility. They post quotes. They punish themselves with secret routines. They talk about rawness and grit. Then they hide from the only thing that grants those words weight: results. If it doesn't show up in results, it didn't happen. The world isn't cruel for asking to see proof. It's honest. It forces you out of self-myth. So let's get practical in a way your judge hates. Pick the mission. Not the identity, not the aesthetic, the mission, something you can measure, something that can humiliate you if you lie. Tie promises to it that would force movement. Speak them out loud to someone who knows your name, put dates on them, show your work, update the scoreboard in the open, even when it's ugly, especially when it's ugly. You'll feel the judge flare up. He'll say, don't go public until it's perfect. He'll say, you'll look stupid. He'll say, you'll expose your weakness. Good. Expose it. Light rots mold. Reality deletes lies. When you're measured by output, you don't have to defend your soul every hour. You just have to do the next rep. This will feel like betrayal because it is. You're leaving an identity that kept you warm. The guy who judges hard often gets to feel like the strongest man in the room because he's always stare-downing himself. He gets to say, I don't tolerate mediocrity. And then he tolerates endless stalling. He tolerates delay. He tolerates fantasies without shipping dates. That strong man is a costume. Burn it. Dress for the work. The man you want to be doesn't run a courtroom. He runs a mission. He doesn't collect evidence about his worth. He collects results. He doesn't give opinions about his character. He keeps promises under pressure. He's measured by momentum, not mood. You might ask, what if I fail? You will. That's the point. Failure in the arena is how you learn what the mission actually needs. Failure in your head teaches you nothing and convinces you you're broken. In the arena, failure is data. It tells you what to change. It pushes you forward. In your head, failure is identity. It freezes you. So choose the failure that moves you. Choose the kind that strengthens your aim, refines your craft, and widens your shoulders. Fail in public reps that can be counted and improved, not in private verdicts that can be endlessly appealed. But I have high standards. Good. Aim them outward. Apply them to the mission's output. You want high standards? Set a standard for what you deliver, not how hard you can flog your self-image. Hold yourself to shipping dates, not shame cycles. Demand excellence of your product, not perfection of your soul. Excellence can be trained. Perfection is a cage, and you've wasted enough time sitting in it, pretending the bars are noble. You don't owe your inner judge anything. You owe your mission everything. Stop feeding the wrong authority. Every time you relitigate your worth, you're stealing oxygen from the fire that will forge you. Every minute you spend deciding if you're enough is a minute you didn't spend becoming more. Decide once. You're the man responsible for the mission. That's it. From there, your days simplify. They still hurt, but the pain points somewhere. It cashes out into muscle, money, mastery, moments that count. That pain pays dividends. The other kind just keeps your head bowed for no return. Some of you will resist this because the courtroom gave you an identity when you had none. It felt like control. It fooled you into believing you were different from the lazy and the weak because you didn't let yourself slide. But listen, you can't cash self-scorn. You can't bench it. You can't spend it. You can't make love to it. You can only get addicted to it. It's a drug that makes you feel purposeful while your purpose dies of neglect. If you want to be a man, stop using pain to pretend. Use it to produce. If you think I'm being harsh, I am. But I'm giving you an exit. The door isn't complicated. It's heavy, but it's simple. You stop convening court. You start making commitments you'd be embarrassed to break. You keep them in daylight. You replace self-talk with logs. You replace debates with deadlines. You replace shame with reps. You refuse to say another sentence that begins with I am when you could say I did. I am strong is a prayer. I did the work is a receipt. Receipts don't beg for belief. They prove. There's a twist you'll notice once you live this way. You finally feel free. When you stop being the prosecutor in your head, you get your energy back. You stop burning calories on self-defense. You stop performing for an audience of one that never claps. You're allowed to suck at new things because you're not on trial. You're allowed to improve because the only thing at stake is the mission. You can be ruthless with the work and merciful with the man. That's what lets you take bigger swings. That's what makes you dangerous. A man who doesn't fear looking bad in service of a mission is hard to stop. And your life changes fast because feedback gets fast. When data corrects you, you can adjust today, not after a week of self-loathing. When you're less precious about your identity, you take more shots. More shots mean more hits. More hits mean momentum. Momentum makes confidence real. Confidence works backwards. You don't get it to start. You get it after starting 100 times while scared and surviving. You want to respect yourself? Keep promises to the mission for long enough that you no longer recognize the man who used to file paperwork about his potential. I'm not interested in your reasons. We can all write poetry about our pain. I want your schedule. I want your numbers. I want your trail of kept commitments that no one can argue with. Men build when they stop defending their feelings and start defending their deadlines. Men grow when they stop justifying an action and start justifying results. You can't be both the prosecutor and the producer. Pick one. If you pick prosecutor, you'll always feel righteous and end up empty. If you pick producer, you'll feel raw and end up full. Stop imagining the man you could be and become the man who shows up. Stop predicting your future and produce it. Stop saying I should and say I will, then prove it. Risk the ring, risk the run, risk the no. Risk the stare in the mirror when the metric doesn't move, and use that stare to attack the process, not yourself. This is what responsibility looks like at full weight. It's not a feeling. It's not an attitude. It's promises made and kept again and again when the audience has left and the lights are ugly. Right now, decide that you will betray the identity that keeps you small. Decide that you will break loyalty with the judge and swear loyalty to the mission. Decide that you will no longer deliver verdicts on your character, you will deliver work. And if the work fails, you will not crawl into your old robe and bang the gavel. You will examine the failure like a craftsman and adjust your hands. You will resist the urge to make it about you because it's not about you. It's about what works. The world is not plotting against you. It's just not grading you on your inner monologue. Good. That means you can change the score by changing your output. That means every day you have a lever you can pull that doesn't require perfect feelings or perfect confidence. Pull it. Put your back into it. Let the harshness you once used to hurt yourself become precision you use to edit your work. Let the aggression you once aimed inward become pressure you apply to your excuses until they crack. You owe yourself a life that has weight. Not a life that looks disciplined from the outside while you drown in self-critique. Not a life full of secret sentences about your worth. A life built from acts that can be seen, measured, and respected. You don't have to be loud, you have to be undeniable. You get undeniable by stacking proof. Proof comes from promises kept. Start today. Not with a paragraph about your standards, but with a promise that bites. Speak it, keep it, then stack another. Let this be the day your identity shifts from the man who judges to the man who delivers. From the guy who cares to the guy who finishes. From I'm trying to it's done. The gap between who you are and who you want to be isn't filled with better thoughts. It's filled with kept promises. No more appeals, no more trials. You are not the judge. You are the builder. The hammer is heavy. Lift it. Put steel in the ground where your excuses used to live. When your head swirls, remember the only verdict that matters. Did it work? If yes, do it again. If no, change it and try again. That's the whole game. That's all a man needs to know. And when that old voice tries to drag you back onto the bench, answer it clean. I don't do verdicts anymore. I do results. I don't punish. I produce. I don't speculate. I ship. The life you want is hidden behind the actions you avoid. Open the door, walk through, eat the fight, keep your word, let the world keep score, then take your next rep, and your next, and your next. Until the man who hid in court can't recognize the man who owns the arena.